You are not lazy. You are not broken. And you do not have a discipline problem. So if you keep getting in your own way by procrastinating on the one thing that would change your life, or you're blowing up relationships that were actually good for you, or staying in situations that you know are destroying you, then self-sabotage is not a bad habit for you, and it's not a mindset issue. The truth is, none of it's your fault, because it comes from shame. And I'm going to show you how that shame was placed into you before you ever had a say in the matter. See, what most people don't understand about self-sabotage is we don't know that we're subconsciously running an original emotional blueprint, which keeps us choosing. This is going to be tough to hear, but most of it subconsciously. We're subconsciously choosing to actually victimize ourselves. And we do this because we lost our inherent power as a child, and by choosing it as an adult, we get our power back. You see, the reason is, as a child, like I said, we're all powerless. Our parents set all the rules. And so if any of your messages told you that you weren't enough, or that your needs were a burden, or you just weren't somehow right in some way, because unfortunately, parents are human, perfectly imperfect. Their intent is almost always to be kind and loving and do the right thing. But too often, they make a big mistake. Instead of correcting the behavior, they shame the child. Why'd you do that? Why are you thinking that? It's all about you, not the what. There's the shame. Boom. Our inherent value, power, and worth is gone in that moment. Well, we've experienced thousands of moments where our parents were perfectly imperfect. And that's the moment we all absorbed their shame and their unhealed emotional pain. So as a child, that shame program was just implanted into you. And our brains, unfortunately, are designed to repeat their earliest emotional experiences, whether they were good for us or not. And it does that so we can form bonds with our caregivers. So the difficulty is, now you're an adult, and now you have power, and you get to pick your career and your relationships and everything. But what's your brain do? It keeps replaying that original emotional blueprint and that emotional memory of how you first felt powerless and worthless and not good enough. So think about it as an adult. What's the greatest way for any of us to get our power back? Get sick, get hurt, make a mistake, post on Facebook, social media. The whole world comes to our defense. I get everyone to take care of me. I get to stay the child. I finally get to parent who's going to fix my problem. It's not conscious. Some people it is. But most of us, we don't even know that that's why we're self-sabotaging, is we're setting up a reverse power dynamic to get the world to be the parent we never had. And so we choose things that don't work. We pick the wrong relationship. We procrastinate on the promotion. We avoid sending the email, or just basically taking care of ourselves. Because, at least this time, I chose it. As a child, it happened to me. I had no choice. But as an adult, I picked it. That's power. That's how I get it back. And that's at the heart of all self-sabotage. It's a shame-driven, subconscious power play that the wounded child inside of all of us is still running a faulty emotional blueprint program that was placed into us. So see, the shame is the loss of our inherent power and our inherent value and worth, and our ability to ask for what we need and what we want, and our ability to basically be the author of our own lives. It's not, I did something bad. It's, I am bad. Think of what happens when you sabotage yourself. You don't go, would have liked to have done that better. You go, God, I'm so stupid. Right? Where's the first time you heard that message? Whether they said it directly or in their tone or the way they looked. That's not your voice saying you're stupid. That was placed into you. So you see, when a child grows up with either direct or indirect criticism like that, or flat out emotional neglect or conditional love, they make a simple determination, a very smart one. Gosh, these are the people I'm supposed to trust, but obviously they're saying something's wrong with me. So that's not a decision. It's a survival reflex. And they create that survival reflex because a child must physically and emotionally attach to another human. Well, these are the ones here. I better attach to them. So I'm just going to grab that and hold on to it because I'm here and that's who I have to be to fit into this family system. And so what do? We all do this. We build a protective survival persona around that. And we become the good one, the strong one, the invisible, the nice one, just about anything to fit in and get connection. That's not who we are. It's who we became to keep our parents' love and connection. So I want to show you how this process works. It's something I developed and I call it the worst day cycle. And the first stage is trauma. And as always, most people think trauma is the big stuff. It is. But it's actually any experience that we find emotionally overwhelming. Well, look at all the little things I just said. Those are huge moments for all of us. And then the thing to remember is we know from studies that 70% of all the messaging children receive, not just from their parents, teachers, preachers, coaches, siblings, friends, it's negative, it's disempowering, and it's shame-based. And all of that messaging is trauma. That's where your self-sabotage comes from. All of those earliest emotional experiences where your brain was too underdeveloped to process it and go, oh, this is about them, not me. We didn't have that built in yet. Now, the overwhelming nature of that trauma sends us into stage 2, which is fear. This is where the event and the emotion create basically a massive chemical explosion. And that explosion, both when it creates that explosion in our brain, it fills our body. That's the feeling sensation. It becomes an embodied experience. And our brain and body become addicted to that, not because they feel good, but because they are known experiences. And our brain is always looking to repeat what it's already done. It does not care if it's good for us or bad for us. It doesn't even consider it. Our brain is always trying to conserve energy, and it built a brilliant strategy itself. It won't just repeat what you've already experienced. Now, the combination of that trauma and that fear sends us into stage 3, shame. This is where we lose that inherent power and detach from our inherent value and worth because we've consumed and absorbed those shame-based emotional messages. And that just results in feelings of dread or a sense of I'm defective, or it can be the opposite. I'm better than you. You can be shut down and stoic, numb and blank, detached, busy. It can be disempowering or falsely empowering. Shame is not always what most people would think is negative. Many of the most so-called confident people are hiding severe shame behind a wall. It's false empowerment. And so whichever side, underneath there's a sense of I'm defective in some way. I've got to fit into this family system, so I have to accept that I can't claim myself right now. And so what other choice does a child have? They can't go run their own lives. They're dependent. Now, no one, even an adult, wants to feel any of that or admit to that truth that, wow, this is what's going on in my home and I've got to find a way to survive this. That's just too much. So the survival persona is a brilliant childhood strategy. That's why none of this is your fault. But to do that, it sends us into denial. That's what the survival persona is. It's like, I can't be me, shut that down, I'm going to bring something else up. And we do this to avoid that deep sense of shame and pain and having to admit how hurt we are and that we're not who we really think we are. And all of that's just way too much to face. I don't care what age you are. And if you're hearing this, it's probably, and this has been resonating, you're probably already going, oh, I don't want to admit this is true. Like your shame and denial is playing with you right now going, no, not my childhood. Like if you haven't even already clicked out, like that shame and denial is intense to admit, wow, this is what's going on. Because that's so intense, we self-sabotage. It's just, and what happens when we self-sabotage? We go right back to trauma. Listen to the words you say to yourself when you self-sabotage. The exact same emotional blueprint words you heard as a child, whether they were the direct words or their mannerisms and behaviors communicated. Like for me, it's I'm stupid. You know, that's the biggest one. I'm stupid. And that's the shame that got placed into me. What was it for you? All right. Now, because of that emotional chemical addiction of cortisol and adrenaline and dopamine that fire every time it's activated, this is why complete chaos in relationship feels like home. It's why healthy relationships feel boring or unsafe partners just feel absolutely magnetic. Your body's craving that emotional blueprint chemistry of your childhood. So self-sabotage is just the delivery system to go right back there. It's how the addiction gets fed. So do you see, none of us are afraid to fail. What we're all scared to death of is success. Because do you see what success would mean? We'd have to let go of the shame-based survival persona that we had to build to fit into our emotional environment and get whatever connection and intimacy that was possible. So that survival persona is our connection. And do you see what it would require to succeed? I'd have to stop the worst day cycle and re-victimizing myself. I'd have to choose to break that false survival persona connection. Well, that's big stuff. And if you're one of those who's having a hard time accepting that, just think about the last time you procrastinated on something that you knew would change your life. How many lies did you tell yourself? It's not the right time. I'll wait till I'm further in my personal development before I go on a date. Or I'll send the email tomorrow. Or, no, I don't need a nap. Naps are those are for lazy people. Every single one of those small little lies. It's the denial that protects the survival persona, guarantees our failure, and puts off success. That's all you have to do to prove to yourself that you are not afraid of failure, is look at your actions. We all have countless situations every day where we know exactly what to do that will make us succeed, and we tell all these shame and denial-based lies. Our survival persona comes up and convinces us, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to succeed because that means you'd separate from the family in your survival persona, and you find all these ways to avoid it. And that's because if you actually took that action, if you actually chose success, you'd reconnect to who you were before all that pain and shame was dumped into you, your authentic self. And the survival persona will not allow that. Now, if you're still watching, if your shame and denial hasn't made you click off, and you want to learn how to stop that self-sabotage, the only way I found, I had to go through all of this myself. And the way I did it was I had to go back and heal that emotional blueprint and the worst day cycle that created it. And so I developed a couple of processes to do that. The first one I call the authentic self cycle, which consists of truth, responsibility, healing, and forgiveness. Truth means I have to admit the truth. This is how the brain and body works. All emotions are created in childhood, all behavior. And so I'm just reliving my childhood. My views of this situation and my behaviors are based on that trauma, fear, shame, denial loop. And so if I want to get out of this, I'm going to have to look at that and step into responsibility, which means I'm not to blame. I didn't choose this. And I'm an adult. I am responsible, now that I know what's going on, to heal it. And if I choose not to, then I am choosing self-victimization and choosing to stay stuck in the worst day cycle and live in a fear of success. So by taking responsibility, it means I'm going to put a plan in place to step into healing. I'm going to learn the skills and tools to heal the original shame and learn how to rewrite the emotional meanings from my childhood that are sabotaging me. And when we do those 3 steps of the authentic self cycle, the natural outcome is forgiveness, not only for ourselves, but our caregivers, because they didn't intend to do this. Look, they were doing the best they could. All of us are perfectly imperfect. And this isn't about blaming anyone. It's about getting into truth. This happens to all of us in all of our childhoods. It's our responsibility as adults to fix it. We do that by putting a plan in place and becoming experts in the healing process. And by committing to those 3, we let both ourselves and everybody else who dumped their shame into us off the hook. And we're okay. Now, what are the processes to actually start doing that? Well, now I'm going to introduce you to my emotional authenticity method, which is the mechanism. And I'm going to show you 6 steps that'll get the process started. Step 1, we have to reconnect to our body and down-regulate somatically. We do that, just take 15 to 30 seconds. As often as possible, focus on what you can hear. That will put you into metacognition, shut down the thoughts and the overwhelming feelings, and you'll be able to get into the space where your authentic self lives before the trauma, okay? So the more you do this, the better this will go. Once you can do that, step into the first question that you're going to ask yourself. What am I feeling? Now, this isn't a simple feeling like I feel bad. You need to develop granularity and specificity. You can pick up a feelings wheel on my website, grab one from Google, and learn how to connect to all the bodies in your feeling. Is it ashamed, invisible, powerless? What is it? Now we're going to start digging in even deeper, and we're going to connect even more somatically. You ask question number 3, where in my body do I feel it? All emotional trauma gets stored in the body. That's the emotional chemical reaction that was placed into us. So when you have a certain emotion around being invisible, that's the shame and pain that was dumped into you, and that's where you store it. Okay? Step number 4, what's my earliest memory? And now you're going to get into truth. Oh my God, it really is my childhood. It's the first time my teacher, preacher, coach, mom, dad, brother, sister said, did A, B, C, or D. That's the first moment I experienced feeling invisible. Wow, I see it now. That's where I had to drop. Like for me, I remember a big moment for me was I was a kid playing hockey. We moved and went to the ice rink. I didn't know there were these things called traveling teams or AAA or whatever. I just shown up for hockey and I made the team. I didn't know anything about it. As soon as I got home, man, did my brothers and sister let me have it about how cocky and arrogant I was. I just made the team. I didn't even know. Well, I mean, there's some truth to that because of, my childhood. I observed a way of speaking from my father and my grandfather, and I see it all the time in my videos. I get so falsely empowered and think I know everything. There's this disconnect. I'm so passionate about this because it changed my life, but the way I speak about it, I even my facial expressions, they look sometimes mean or angry and very flippant and cocky, and I'm still a work in progress too. This emotional blueprint was placed in me. And that's just how it works. But I did the work. I got into truth, took responsibility. I'm in the healing process and I can forgive myself. I got a lot of stuff dumped into me. It's not easy to excavate, but now I see it. I see where the original wounds came from. And now we move into question number 4. Now that we can see all of that, we ask ourselves, who would I be if I never had this thought or feeling again? What would I think and feel about myself then? Well, do you see? I wouldn't think and feel any of that. I'd feel lighter, freer, empowered, safe, comfortable. I wouldn't be worried about sending the email or taking a nap or standing up for myself or letting somebody get close to me and not being stoic, and I wouldn't have to work so hard to get validation and approval, all these different things. I'd just be fine. And now you do the next step. Now that you can feel who you actually were before the shame and pain was dumped into you, you want to do the next step, which I call feelization. And this means I want you to sit in that feeling and make it as strong. We have to create a new emotional chemical addiction in our brain and body to replace the old emotional blueprint. So you sit in that feeling. And then you ask yourself, how would I respond to that situation? What would I say? What would I do the next time I need to do or this happens? And you start seeing and picturing yourself operating from your authentic self. That's the emotional blueprint remapping and rewiring we need. And that's how you stop self-sabotage. That's who you are without the trauma, fear, shame, and denial. So do you see, with that process, it's clear. You are not broken. You were just programmed by a childhood that didn't give you the skills and tools to handle what was happening emotionally. But I just showed you, programs can be rewritten. So if you're still watching, what that means is, even if you were triggered through all of this, your authentic self is a lot closer to the surface than you realize. So if something inside you was like, this resonates, that's me, then head on over to my playlist and watch my 5-part series on how to reclaim your authentic self by becoming trauma informed. That's where you're going to learn on a much deeper level about my worst day cycle, each specific part and more of the science behind the trauma, fear, shame, and denial. All right? You'll be able to really grab that. Now, if you want to just focus on shame, then check out my video called 7 Steps to Heal Toxic Shame. That'll not only give you an understanding, but give you other skills and tools to work on lowering that shame so you can confront the survival persona, eventually step into the authentic self cycle, and use the emotional authenticity method to remap and rewire your whole system. Okay? Now, before I go, I really can't say this enough. You are not to blame and you are not broken. You and your parents and everyone around you did the best they could with the information they had at the time. Well, now that you know more, you'll be able to do more. Because now you can equip yourself with the skills and tools you didn't have, which will allow you to do more. So you were just programmed, but programs can be rewritten. So I hope that helped you. I'll see you in the next video.